Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson. I'm focused on discussing fun topics for fun people, and today I want to explore the tragic full story of General Kai. You see, 500 years before the Dragon Warrior rose to become a master of Kung Fu, Kai was given control over a great army, but he wasn't alone. Kai fought alongside Oogway, his brother-in-arms and his closest friend, and together, the duo marched across China and established themselves across the world as formidable warriors and thoughtful leaders. Kai especially stood out amongst the two of them, as he became known at that time in history as the supreme warlord of all China. But inevitably, every name Kai was given would eventually be forgotten. You see, after Kai and Oogway's army was ambushed, Oogway became mortally injured, leading Kai to carry his friend for days high into the mountains looking for help until they discovered a secret village of pandas. In that ancient place of healing, the pandas healed Oogway using the power of Qi, and once he was healed, both Kai and Oogway were taught how to use this spiritual energy. But while Oogway focused on unlocking how to give Qi, Kai became obsessed with taking the power for himself, leading to his eyes glowing green, which symbolizes his blinding desire for more. Instead of striving to find balance, Kai fell to his dark tendencies as he became singularly focused on the selfish and destructive path he was going down. Now, why Qi corrupted Kai is never truly explained, but to me, I think it makes sense that he would rise to become the Jade Slayer, the Master of Pain, and the Maker of Widows because of his experiences seeing Oogway almost die. He was a young bull when he became a hero of China, but no matter the accolades or the victories he had, nonetheless, he was unable to protect his brother from every threat. Seeing Oogway almost die meant that Kai finally knew that he wasn't all powerful, and I think that scared him. While Oogway wanted to ensure that he could heal the world, I think Kai decided that he never wanted anyone he loved to suffer or die from any enemy that opposed him. So he decided to take the Qi of others to protect his family. But when Oogway saw that Kai was stealing Qi for himself, he couldn't allow that to continue, and what followed was a battle that shook the earth, which ended in Kai being banished to the spirit realm. The very person Kai was willing to do anything to protect was the very person who took his life away, leaving him full of loneliness and rage.
I loved him like a brother, and he betrayed me.
At that point, Kai took on the titles of the Jade Slayer, the Collector, and in China he was known as Tian Sha, meaning ferocious spirit from heaven. Now that Oogway had cut ties with his friend, I think it was here that Kai's transition from war hero to unhinged spirit warrior became solidified, because he had no more connections to his humanity. He was on his own and no longer could exist as a mortal being, which led him to take action for hundreds of years in hopes of undoing Oogway's acts against him. In hopes of taking vengeance upon Oogway, Kai forged 2 jade blades on chains, scoured the spirit realm for kung fu masters he could confront, and stole the Qi from each and every warrior who existed in that world until the day finally came where he was strong enough to confront Oogway again. On his own, Oogway was able to counter many of Kai's moves against him, but nothing could have kept Kai from taking Oogway's Qi that day. The reason he's doing everything is because he feels like Oogway hurt him. And that's what I think was the most interesting thing about diving into his character, was trying to get into those layers of why did he feel like Oogway was betraying him? While Oogway did joke around with his former friend, nonetheless, he was in pain seeing how far he had fallen.
When will you realize the more you take, the less you have?
Oogway could see that he would eventually crumble from his pursuit of power and the vanity that had replaced his good nature by the warrior he had chosen before he had passed on to the spirit realm. Once Kai was in possession of Oogway's Qi, he hung him close to his heart, swore to stop the warrior who was sent on a path to defeat him, and then used all of the power he had acquired to return to the mortal world. As soon as he arrived in China, the reality that he had been erased from history became clear to him, while Oogway's role in the world had become solidified in everyone's minds. That's why once his jade zombies, or jombies as Poe calls them, are sent out into the world to find Oogway's pupils, Kai becomes focused on tearing apart his former friend's legacy. He swore to destroy everything he had created. Now, the reason I think Kai wanted to dethrone Oogway as a legendary warrior comes from his own pain, arrogance, and jealousy. Kai believed his actions to acquire power were meant to be used for good, but because Oogway disagreed, all of his heroic actions were ripped out of history.
I will not let you destroy Oogway's memory.
Why not? He destroyed mine.
That also feels incredibly unfair to him because he's convinced himself he's infinitely more powerful than Oogway ever was, because he is able to use the chi of many masters. But even with those good intentions and his strength, the villagers across China nonetheless adore the memories of his brother-in-arms, who he felt betrayed him. To try to make amends for this erasure, since he feels that if he would have been able to live out his life 500 years ago, that he would be the warrior that the world remembers, I think Kai foolishly believes that he can use his current power to undo Oogway's impact in the world. Kai is blinded to the fact that Oogway is powerful because of his impact into the people that he interacted with, and that's the same reason that Po is able to defeat him. And that's something that he just isn't able to fully internalize into himself, of why he can't actually destroy Oogway's legacy. I don't think titles or praise were the reason Kai went down the path of acquiring power, but I think his frustration with his enemy being remembered as a hero, mixed with the vain belief that he could shape the universe with the spiritual energy he possessed, led him to desire to be seen again as the supreme warlord of all China.
There will be no one left who will even remember your name.
He's coming!
Now, while I acknowledge Kai needed to be stopped once he returned to the mortal world, I feel really conflicted about Kai's origins and about the role Oogway played in creating this villain. To me, it seems like Kai did everything for Oogway, but no action he took was ever the correct one, which led to him and his tale being hidden from the world by his friend. It seems like during the mortal life of Kai, he was making mistakes like Po's father's, and was only met with violence and banishment.
Sometimes we do the wrong things for the right reasons.
But do you think Oogway handled Kai as best as he could, or do you think he only helped push the spirit warrior into the monster he became? Regardless of Kai's creation though, on his journey to Oogway's home, the Jade Palace, he discovered the Dragon Warrior, stripped the chi of every master he could find, which I've made multiple discussions about that I've linked in the description if you'd like to see an in-depth look at every warrior he defeated. And inevitably, Kai confronted the students who were closest to his former friend. Approaching the temple his brother had constructed, Kai mocked Oogway and the warriors who praised him.
Look at you pathetic fools, groveling at the feet of Oogway the Magnificent.
Showing that his respect for his friend and the mortals of this world had completely vanished. Quickly, Kai and his zombies took down Shifu and the remaining members of the Furious Five, only falling for a moment when Tigress used an enhanced chi kick. After that moment, he used the full extent of his power to take down the masters, allowing him to use his chains and blades to throw Oogway's statue into the Jade Palace, destroying much of the knowledge the Kung Fu master left his students to protect. But once the Jade Palace had fallen, the only remaining objective Kai had left for himself was to defeat the warrior who had been chosen by Oogway to defeat him. Tracking Po to the hidden Panda village in the mountains, he goes after the Dragon Warrior with an army of zombies, but is shocked to find they are being fought off by a Panda army, which completely disorients him until he's forced to focus on an attack by Po. While the Dragon Warrior tried to whooshy fingerhold Kai into the spirit realm, he isn't affected by the technique as a spirit warrior, giving him an opportunity to recall the chi of the masters and beat down Po. Towering over Po, at first he believes he has won, but Po is able to realize that he can drag them both to the spirit realm by whooshy finger holding himself. Enraged that he was in the spirit realm again, Kai furiously attacks Po and begins to take his chi for himself until the Dragon Warrior resists his attack. Embedded with the chi of his students, Po unleashes the full power he now possesses, resulting in the destruction of Kai's weapons, a horrible beatdown against Kai, and a declaration by Kai stating that he will hunt Po's chi for another 500 years if he has to. Kai spent the majority of his existence craving power, attempting to vanquish his enemies and obsessing over his revenge against his closest friend, and he was willing to commit the rest of his existence to defeat the warrior Oogway had sent his way, but he would not be given that time. Knowing Kai desired his chi, Po gives him the power that he had sought after, but instead of becoming omnipotent, Kai is overwhelmed by the energy that coursed through him, leading to his spirit being erased in an explosion of light. Fun people, make sure to subscribe for more magical discussions. Let me know which characters you'd like me to break down next. Check out my podcast for an extended version of this discussion where I go more in depth of my thoughts on Kai. And thank you to everyone who helps make my videos possible. If you'd like to help keep my discussions free for everyone forever, consider joining my community on Patreon. And finally, I hope you have a magical day.